This is Matt Bezek with Classic Community College Upper Bound Program, and today I'm going to be discussing how to pay for college, just kind of the basics of where funding comes from when you're anticipating how you're going to afford to go to college, or whether it's 2 years or 4 years. So right off the bat, I think the best place to start is looking at financial aid. What kind of funding is out there and available for those who can't afford to just pay for college out of your pocket. So right out the gate, you're looking at grant money as probably the number one source of funding available. Grants are just free money that you qualify for based on your income. That's why you complete the FAFSA. The government determines how much you can realistically afford to pay towards a student's education and then provides you grant money accordingly. Grant money does not need to be paid back. It is just yours to use for your education. There's a couple different types of grants. There's the Pell Grant and the FSEOG. It's a complicated name. We'll kind of see what it stands for in a little bit. Those are the two grants that are offered through the federal government, and then also by completing your FAFSA, living in the state of Oregon, you also qualify potentially for the Oregon Opportunity Grant. So let's take a look at what those values actually look like in terms of potential funding you could secure.
All right, so for this grant money, let's go ahead and take a look at what the maximum values are that you can get from each of these, because that's probably what's going to be of the most interest to you if you're watching this video, is how much aid can I actually get. So what we're looking at here first is the federal grants that are available. So the primary grant that you will see if you have an income that qualifies is the Pell Grant. So this is old information. This is for 2017-18. But as you can see here, you can go to the studentaid.gov website and find summaries that indicate how much is available for each grant and loan type. So we're going to be coming back to this a few times. That first column that you're looking at is the Pell Grant. So for 2017-18, the maximum award amount was $5,920. For the students who were very timely and had a high need based on their EFC, that FSEOG grant is also available. That can be, it says up to $4,000. For the most part, what we see is it doesn't really go beyond $2,000, but that is additional grant money that is available for those students in the greatest need. You'll find that there are additional grants that are out there. Most of these apply to very special circumstances, like the TEACH grant, like the Iraq and Afghanistan Service Grant. There's also grants available for students who grew up in the foster care system. But the two that you will primarily be looking at if you're kind of don't have one of these special backgrounds is the Pell Grant, the FSEOG, and then on a state level, you are looking at the Oregon Opportunity Grant. So again, this is old information. For this 2016-17 award year, it was $2,250 was the maximum grant money that they would allow for that given year. And I believe for 2017-18, it was that same amount. In regards to the federal Workstudy, in terms of the maximum amount that you can qualify for, when you look at the materials online, it's going to indicate that there is no minimum or maximum amount for the federal Workstudy. What we typically see is it ranges somewhere between the $2,000 and $5,000 amount. Again, all this is the individual school is kind of pegging you for work that you can do either on campus or within the community. Looking back at this federal aid document again, we're going to look at the maximum amounts as seen through the loans that they can offer. The first up is that subsidized loan. What you'll see is they really vary based on what year you are in school. For students that were going to be freshmen for 2017 and 18, that $5,500 you see there was the maximum that I saw was being offered to students. The direct unsubsidized loan that you see there, it lists over $20,000. A lot of that is more for students that are either going to be seniors or looking at graduate school. But from what I saw for the year 2017 and 18 was the maximum you're able to get from those loans was about $5,500. With these loans, you don't have to start paying them back until you graduate. If you are having difficulties finding a job, or you find a job that doesn't pay you enough wages to fulfill the payment plan that you originally set, you can work with these federal agencies to kind of create a plan that works for you. Just quickly, the difference between subsidized and unsubsidized. Subsidized loan will not accrue any interest while you are in school. Once you have to start making payments on the loan, it'll then start accruing interest. The unsubsidized loans, you don't have to make payments on those until you graduate. However, interest does accrue while you are in school. That third one listed there is the Direct Plus loan. This is really just the parent loan. If you're after all your scholarships, after your grants, after maxing out your student loans, if you are still short of the amounts you need to cover the costs of going to college and room and board, we don't typically recommend this, but it is an option offered through completing the FAFSA, and that is you take out a loan both in the student and parent's name. This typically, if it's being offered with a plus loan, they'll allow you to borrow pretty substantial amounts to cover whatever is remaining on the balance to cover those costs of attending college. This is really entirely up to kind of the parents and the parents' financial situation. Again, we try to really recommend not going this route. A lot of what we try to do in Upper Bound is find funding for you so you don't have to be borrowing $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 to attend school for a single academic year. There's definitely other options available. However, if we're just looking at what funding options are available, we have to include this as an option. You know, you're going to see it on the financial information you get from the school, so it's worth covering here.
The next classification of funding that we're going to be looking at here is scholarships. So people kind of know what scholarships represents. It's also money you can receive to go to college that you do not have to be paying back immediately. The types of scholarships really just depend on the organizations offering them. Some are a set amount over 4 years. Others are just a one-time offering that you get right when you, as a freshman, when you attend college. Let's start by just looking at kind of the local organizations. So out here on the coast, you'll see the Elks have a scholarship competition. There's a North Coast Scholarship Foundation. Just looking at your local banks, or really any kind of nonprofits that are out here. There's some inconsistency in terms of what scholarships are offered from year to year, but it's worth just keeping an eye on the nonprofits in your community that may be offering scholarships. These are a great resource because there's very few students, really just the ones within your school potentially, that can be applying for these. So there's a high likelihood of receiving funding from these organizations. The best place to look for these potential opportunities is probably just your counseling office at your high school. Just keep an eye on what is coming in there and the opportunities that are available.
Another source of scholarships that we can get here in the state of Oregon is housed through OSAC, and that stands for the Oregon Office of Student Access and Completion. So basically any organizations that exist in the state of Oregon that want to offer scholarship monies to students, going through OSAC is a way to just kind of take the burden off of the individual companies. They kind of say, we want to give money to students, but we don't want to organize advertising our scholarships and going through all the applications. So they kind of contact OSAC and get their scholarship listed on the website. So students can come on here, complete one application, and apply to hundreds of different scholarships that are available depending on what you qualify for. So you can see here on the OSAC student portal website, I've already kind of have a login over here, you'll see loaded, but you'd create a profile. If you just want to see what kind of scholarships are out there, you can click on the scholarships link and just kind of start previewing all these pages. So there's quite a few lists on every single page. Each scholarship has its own kind of identifying number, and you'll see, I believe at the top, that there is 11 whole pages. I can only guess at how many are on here, but like I said, there are hundreds of scholarships that exist through this state organization. A lot of these, there's many students that apply to a lot of these scholarships. I'm not going to say that they're easy to get, but if you are looking to maximize the amount of aid that you are going to receive for attending college, this is definitely a great resource to just apply to a wide range of scholarships that fit your criteria without having to fill out separate applications for each and every one. Next up on the list, it would be institution scholarships. So this is really vital because this is a really surefire way to secure funding to help pay for tuition and room and board. So depending on which school you actually attend, that institution will have scholarship money that can be offered to students. So I have a couple examples here to just go through. So for University of Oregon, once you complete your application, there are certain scholarships like the Summit and Apex that are automatically qualified for. There's no additional work that you need to do. It's based on GPAs and SAT or ACT scores. And you just are guaranteed certain values of scholarship for over 4 years. There's a couple extra ones like the stamps, presidential, diversity. These all require separate applications. So it's key when you are looking at the colleges you are applying to that you're aware of any separate deadlines or separate applications you need to complete to qualify for some of these scholarships. Usually the ones that require separate applications are going to be for significantly more money than the ones that are just automatic qualifiers. Looking at Oregon State University, they are very similar. You'll see the Finley Academic Excellence Scholarship. That's very similar to just the automatic qualifiers based on GPA test scores. You'll see the Presidential Scholarship here. I believe they also, I think, have a diversity scholarship. Those are ones that are based more on what your essays look like during the application process. But these are kind of two examples of kind of the institution scholarships that you want to make sure you're aware of to kind of maximize the funding that you can receive. Even looking at the community college level, don't think just because it's not a four-year school, there isn't still local school opportunities to get extra funding. So this is for 2017-18. There could be changes as you move into the future, but every one of these links here, every one of these lines is a separate scholarship. Some are for incoming freshmen, others are for continuing students, but these can all be applied for by just completing that single application through each university. So this is really essential if you're looking to maximize the kind of funding that you are getting to offset the cost of college, that you make sure you have your applications in for the individual institution you plan on going to. Lastly, it's important to note that there are just scholarships all over the place throughout the United States. Many of them can be challenging to win because students from all over the country can be applying for them at the same time, but that doesn't mean it isn't worth trying, or at least looking at them to see if you can find a scholarship that really fits your criteria and what you have to offer. So this is one website that I recommend all students bookmark. It is Oregon Gear Up Scholarship Calendar. It's run through Oregon State University. However, you will see scholarships on here from all over the country. They're listed by date, so everything you see on here is just the closest to the date that I'm making this video, but as you progress through the pages, you'll see all kinds of scholarships. Some of them are within, kind of the local scholarships that you will have come across by going through your school counseling office, or that you will see on institution websites. But this is a great kind of check all to make sure that you're not missing any easy opportunity for funding. Some of these are annual scholarships. Others you'll see every single month, usually the last day of the month. There are these essay competitions, or some of them are Twitter competitions. They're just very simple stuff. They don't offer a ton of money, but $500 is still something. And you can every month be applying to these scholarships. So I recommend constantly, just throughout your senior year, checking in on this website to see what kind of scholarships are available. There are some national scholarships that are out there that aren't listed on this website. I just recommend you check with your school counselors, check with your TRIO advisor, and see what other opportunities are out there, because we have lists all over the place that kind of map out every single scholarship opportunity that is out there, and we are obviously here to help you secure funding. So do not hesitate to come and ask us for more opportunities. I imagine you could complete a scholarship just about every single day of your senior year and not run out of opportunities. So do not hesitate to keep probing and finding more and more scholarship opportunities out there.
Lastly, the best place you're probably going to find scholarship opportunities is the local scholarship applications at each individual high school. Now, the schools should have a pretty scheduled regimen for making sure you're aware of when these applications are coming out, when things are due. They work with you hand in hand to make sure that you are completing these and having the opportunity to get funds from local organizations. These are similar to the OSAC. It's local companies that don't want to handle kind of the minutia of organizing scholarships. They just approach these local scholarship funds at each school and say, we want to give some money out, give us some applications from students, and we'll kind of pick and choose who we want to award them to. So they're pretty easy. You just fill out the one application at each school, and then those all get sent out to each organization based on your eligibility. This is an absolute must if you actually want to go to college. Almost every single student who completes these applications gets some kind of funding, and it can be pretty substantial based on what awards are available and what your profile, kind of what you've done as a student, and how appealing you are to these organizations. So in terms of free money, scholarships is really where it's at. You can, like I mentioned before, spend all day, every day filling out scholarship applications. You probably want to be a little more selective so you're not wasting your time. You're finding ones that are actually a good fit and not just applying to every single one. But I truly believe that you can scrape together enough funding from a variety of sources through the grants and scholarships to make any college that you can be accepted into an affordable option for you.
It is worth mentioning, if you're looking to secure funding, the Oregon Promise. So if you are a graduating student of the state of Oregon and you graduate with a 2.5 GPA or higher and will attend community college within 6 months of graduation, Oregon Promise will secure funding to essentially cover tuition. It covers the average cost of a community college tuition throughout the state of Oregon. This will most likely have some income qualifiers on it, but as long as your household income is probably under $100,000, you are looking pretty safe to qualify for Oregon Promise. And this is just an incredibly affordable way to get some continued education at the college level without breaking the bank or taking out substantial amounts of loans to do so. It's highly recommended that you, even if you can go right to a four-year university, that you maybe take advantage of this and go to school for free for 2 years and then borrow whatever money you need to get that four-year degree your final 2 years. Again, that's totally up to you, but this is a remarkable opportunity to help save money when you're looking at your college path that you want to take.
I also think it's worth noting that once you're on campus, once you're in college, most students work. Whether it's an on-campus job, it's your federal work study like we mentioned before, or whether it's just a job at some local business, or just keeping your high school job that you had. It's pretty reasonable to think that you can fit in some work hours into your college schedule. You're really only in class probably 15 to 20 hours a week, so you have some freedom to earn money on the side and help cover some of those costs. If you are looking at your grant money and your scholarships and it's not quite enough to pay for the full tuition over the course of a year, you don't have to worry that you're maybe $3,000 short, because that $3,000 will be owed over the course of an entire school year. You won't have to pay it in one lump sum. You can kind of earn a little bit month to month and pay your bills like you would paying for rent. You don't have to pay for rent 12 months up front. You usually do it month to month, and schools will work with you to find payment plans that fit. And if you have a consistent job, or you have parents or grandparents that are going to help chip in little bits every month, it can be a safe way to avoid taking out student loans and just slowly making payments and working to kind of cover whatever costs you weren't able to reach through your free money of grants and scholarships. Before we wrap up here, I think it's worth mentioning that it may be worth looking at your financial aid packages you get from schools. If you've applied to several schools, you may have one that's on the very top of your list. You definitely want to go there. But if it is just much more expensive than another school that is offering you far more money through scholarships or an extra award you maybe received, I would highly suggest really considering taking the affordable option. University lifestyle can kind of impact your overall experience, but at the end of the day, if you just achieve your degree, kind of where you go from then on, the rest of your life, the success that you accumulate is really based more on kind of the effort and your drive and what you put into your chosen path. The degree you have doesn't matter all that much in all reality. So do not put yourself in a situation where you are in a lifetime of debt just to go to one specific school or the best school, if that is raking up a ton of student debt or putting you in a really tough financial situation, it's probably not worth the added stress. You can go to a more affordable school and just really put in a ton of work and have that drive, and you will still be successful regardless of what it says on your diploma. So that is my final 2 cents. I want to thank you for sticking with me here and learning about all the different options for helping to pay for your college education.